My name is Daniel Reeves. I'm 34 years old. I manage inventory logistics for a mid-sized furniture distributor, spreadsheets, supplier calls, warehouse scheduling, nothing that makes anyone lean forward at a dinner party. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment on the 4th floor of a building where the elevator works about 60% of the time. I own a second-hand couch I've never had reason to replace, and a coffee maker I treat with more respect than most people treat their cars. Her name was Nora Callahan. She had been my best friend for 6 years. She was a high school art teacher. Watercolors and ceramics, and the kind of calm authority that made teenagers straighten up without being told to. She had dark hair she kept tied back during the week and loose on weekends. She carried the same canvas tote bag everywhere, faded navy, with a small ceramic pin she'd made herself in the shape of a honeybee pinned near the strap. She claimed it was from a student. I had been in the room when she made it. She never mentioned that part. We met because she knocked on the wrong apartment door 6 years ago. She was looking for the tenant in 4B. I was 4D. She had a clay pot in her hands and a look on her face that said she was not expecting the wrong door to open so cheerfully. We argued briefly about whether I had personally misled her by living where I lived. I had not. We were friends by the following Thursday. The existing dynamic was simple. I knew everything about her, and she knew everything about me, and we had both separately decided that this was all it would ever be. Or, that is what I told myself. I had been telling myself that version of the story for approximately 4 of the 6 years. It was a comfortable story. It required very little from me. I had gotten quite good at believing it. I should have known the story was unstable. Comfortable lies usually are. The night it cracked open, publicly, irreversibly, in front of everyone, started as a birthday party for our mutual friend Marcus. He had turned 36 and declared this a tragedy that required a full apartment of people, loud music, and what he called his signature cocktail, which tasted like something you might find under a sink. Nora arrived in a gray dress and earrings I had not seen before. She had a bottle of wine in one hand and the navy tote on her shoulder, the B-pin catching the light as she moved through the doorway. She spotted me across the room and did the thing she always did. Slight tilt of the head, small private smile. Like I was the only person in the room she had already decided she was glad to see. I had been receiving that look for 6 years. I had not yet come up with the right thing to do with it. The apartment smelled like Marcus's cooking, garlic and something charred around the edges, and the windows were fogged from the heat of too many people in too small a space. Someone had made a playlist that cycled between decade-appropriate throwbacks and songs nobody recognized. Marcus was already mid-story in the kitchen, arms wide, holding his signature drink aloft like evidence. Nora crossed the room and handed me her coat without asking. 6 years of that shorthand. "You look dressed up," I said. "I look like I own a mirror," she said. "Don't make it weird." I did not make it weird. I hung up her coat. I got her a drink. We moved through the party the way we always did, orbiting each other without discussion, splitting off to separate conversations, finding each other again by some gravitational mechanism I had never bothered to examine closely. Marcus cornered us near the bookshelf around 10 o'clock, which is when the evening began its careful demolition. He had the look of a man 3 drinks into a very good idea. Nora saw it before I did. Her fingers tightened once around her wine glass. "Question," Marcus said. He pointed at me with his drink. "What are you going to do with this woman?" "Probably let her eat the last of the dip," I said. "Already did," Nora said. Marcus said, undeterred, in life. "Big picture. It's my birthday. I'm asking the important questions." "It's your birthday," Nora said. "Ask yourself important questions." "I've done mine. You two are the unsolved problem." He looked at me, then at her, then back at me with the specific expression of a man who has decided he is doing a public service. Someone at this party should propose to this woman before the night is over. There was a brief pause. I blamed the 3 drinks I had personally consumed for what happened next. I blamed the ease of 6 years. I blamed the way she was looking at the bookshelf instead of me, which I had learned was what she did when she was trying not to react to something. I blame all of these things. I also blame no one but myself. I turned to Nora. I adopted the most performatively solemn expression I could manage. I gestured vaguely at the floor. "Nora Callahan," I said, in the voice of a man making an announcement at a mid-level insurance conference. "Would you do me the extraordinary honor," she turned from the bookshelf, "of becoming my wife?" There was a beat of silence. Around us, the nearest cluster of people had already noticed. Heads were turning. Someone had turned down the music. I was still half smiling, waiting for her to roll her eyes, waiting for the particular expression she reserved for when I was being an idiot, waiting for the laugh that would let us both off the hook and return the evening to neutral ground. She didn't roll her eyes. She looked at me, just looked at me, for 1 full second longer than the joke required. And then, quietly, not to the room, not to Marcus, not to the audience that had assembled, she said, "Yes." Not with a laugh, not with irony, not with the edge she used when she was playing along with something. Just yes. Clear and even, and slightly too certain, like the sentence had been sitting in her chest for a long time and had finally found its door. I stood there. Marcus made a sound I cannot adequately describe. Someone behind me said something. The music had fully stopped now, which I was aware of in the way you become aware of a room you are trapped in. I looked at Nora. She looked back at me. Her chin was level. She had not looked away. She had the expression of a woman who had said a true thing and had decided, mid-sentence, to stop pretending she hadn't. I said, Okay, that was what I said. Okay. I had delivered the proposal of a man reading from a teleprompter, and she had answered with complete sincerity, and my response was okay. I want the record to reflect that I have spent years being embarrassed about this. Nora still brings it up when she wants to win an argument. Marcus started clapping. 2 other people joined him. I pointed at them both and asked them to stop. They did not stop. Nora picked up her wine glass, took a single sip, and said very quietly, "You should probably figure out how to finish that sentence." I said, "Can we, maybe, do this somewhere that isn't here?" She looked around at the 8 people now watching us. "Probably yes," she said. We ended up in the hallway outside Marcus's apartment. The sounds of the party filtered under the door. The hallway smelled like old carpet and someone's takeout leftovers. It was not a romantic setting. I have learned not to need settings to be romantic in order to work. She was leaning against the wall across from me with her arms crossed and her wine glass still in her hand. The B-pen caught the hallway light. She was watching me with an expression I had been trying to read for 6 years and only just now understood. I said, "You said yes." I did. I was joking. I know. "So why?" She looked at the ceiling for a moment. Then at me. Her voice dropped a register. Not louder. Quieter. "Because I got tired," she said, "of waiting for you to say it like you meant it." That sentence did something quiet to the room. I stood with it for a moment. I was aware of her watching me. I was aware that we were in a carpeted hallway outside a party, and that I was holding absolutely nothing and had no coat, and had never prepared a single word for this exact moment, because I had spent 4 years telling myself this moment would never happen. I said, I need to tell you something, and I'm going to say it badly. Because I haven't practiced. Because I convinced myself I was never going to need to. She waited. When something goes well, I said, "You're the first person I want to tell." Not because I need you to celebrate it. Just because it doesn't feel completely real until you know about it. And when something goes wrong, I stopped. Still you. It's always been you. I just decided that was friendship, and then I got very committed to that decision and refused to look at it too closely. She was very still. Not dramatically. Just still. "That is hiding," she said. "I know." With extremely poor branding. "I know." I exhaled. "I'm sorry it took me this long. That wasn't." I searched for the word. "That wasn't fair to you." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she uncrossed her arms. She reached across the hallway and set her wine glass carefully on the floor by the baseboard. She straightened up. "Daniel," she said. "Yeah, stop apologizing and finish the sentence." So I finished the sentence. I crossed the hallway. I took her face in my hands, gently, the way you hold something you don't want to drop. I said her name. She said okay. I kissed her in a carpeted hallway outside a birthday party for Marcus, who was probably, at this very moment, taking full credit through a closed door. The door opened 3 seconds later. It was Marcus. He looked at us. He raised his drink. He said, "I'd like to thank myself." We told him to go back inside. He did not go back inside immediately. It took another 40 seconds, and the intervention of his girlfriend, and the promise of the rest of the dip. 3 months later, her navy tote bag was in my apartment more often than it was in hers. The bee pen lived on the kitchen shelf. She said she didn't want to lose it. I said nothing. She knew I had noticed. 11 months after that, on a Tuesday evening that held no calendar significance, she was reading at my kitchen table and I was washing up, and the particular quality of the quiet between us felt so much like something I could not lose that I put down the dish I was holding and said, "I want to ask you something, and this time I mean it." She looked up. I did not have a ring yet. I had a dish towel in my hand. I had not practiced this one either. She said yes before I finished the sentence. Years later, when people ask how we got together, she tells the hallway version. I tell the joke version. Marcus tells the version where he takes sole credit and claims he planned the whole thing from the moment she arrived in the gray dress. He tells it at every gathering. He considers it his defining achievement. We let him have it. The truth is simpler than any of the versions. She had been waiting for me to mean something I had been saying carelessly for years. When I finally said it with the weight it deserved, badly, in a hallway, without ceremony, she already had the answer ready. She had probably always had it. I had just needed to stop joking long enough to hear it. What would you have done if someone answered your joke proposal like they'd been waiting for it? And have you ever realized, too late, that the one person you kept calling your best friend was the one person you were always falling toward? Tell me your story in the comments. If this one landed, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.